The sun was setting behind the tall mountains when Daniel first saw the tablet. It was half buried in the dry earth, covered with dust and strange marks. He wiped it clean with his sleeve and looked at the strange symbols carefully. They were unlike anything he had seen before. "Look at this," Daniel said softly, holding the tablet in his hands. His friend Mia leaned closer, her eyes wide with curiosity. "What does it say?" she asked. "I don't know yet, but it's old ... Very old, maybe from a lost civilization," Daniel answered, excitement growing in his voice. Mia shivered. "You think it's real, or just some old story?" Daniel shook his head. "No, this looks real. These symbols, they must mean something important." They sat down near a small fire they had made earlier and began studying the tablet. The sun disappeared completely, and the cold night began to creep in. But neither of them wanted to stop. "Wait, here." Daniel pointed to one symbol that looked like a triangle with a dot inside. "I read somewhere that triangles often mean warning." "A warning?" Mia asked, her voice trembling a little. "Yes. And there's a phrase written here in letters I can read," Daniel said slowly. "Beware what Earth contains." Mia's eyes grew wide. "That sounds serious. What could it mean?" Daniel's mind raced. Maybe it's a message from people long ago, trying to warn us about something dangerous hidden beneath the ground. Mia looked at the dark forest behind them. "Like what? Monsters?" Daniel smiled. "Not monsters, maybe something worse. A secret that can change everything." The next day, Daniel and Mia took the tablet to an old library in the nearby town. They met Dr. Harris, a historian known for studying ancient civilizations. Dr. Harris examined the tablet with great care. "This is extraordinary," he said, his voice full of awe. "The script is a mix of forgotten languages. But the warning is clear. Beware what Earth contains." Mia asked. "But what does it mean? What does the Earth contain?" Dr. Harris frowned. "It's difficult to say. Many lost civilizations have disappeared suddenly. Some legends speak of terrible powers buried deep underground. Natural disasters, strange machines, or even unknown creatures." Daniel looked at Mia. "We have to find out more." Dr. Harris nodded. "If you really want answers, you should visit the ruins near the old river. Some ancient structures were found there, but no one has explored them deeply." Daniel's heart pounded. "That's where I found the tablet." "Then you are already closer than most," said Dr. Harris. "But be careful. Some things are better left alone." That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. The warning echoed in his mind. Beware what Earth contains. What if it was true? What if something dangerous was still hidden there, waiting? The next morning, Daniel and Mia packed their bags and headed toward the ruins by the river. The sky was gray, and a cold wind blew through the trees. The ruins looked old and broken, with fallen stones and strange carvings on the walls. Daniel pointed to a carving on a large stone slab. "Look at this. It matches the symbols on the tablet." Mia traced the symbols with her finger. "It feels like they are trying to tell us something." Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled slightly. A low rumble rose from the earth, growing louder. Daniel grabbed Mia's hand. "What was that?" Mia swallowed hard. "I don't know. Maybe an earthquake?" But the rumbling stopped as quickly as it began. Silence returned, heavy and strange. Daniel bent down and pushed aside some loose stones. Near the base of the wall, his fingers touched something cold and smooth, a metal panel hidden under the rocks. "Look, there's a door," he whispered. Mia's eyes filled with fear and excitement. "Should we open it?" Daniel hesitated. If this is what the tablet was warning about, maybe we should be careful. But curiosity was stronger. Together, they lifted the panel. Behind it, a dark tunnel disappeared into the earth. Daniel took out his flashlight and shone it inside. The beam revealed a staircase carved from stone, going deep underground. "Let's see what's down there," Daniel said quietly. Mia nodded, her heart pounding. They stepped inside and began to descend. The air grew colder and heavier with every step. Strange echoes followed their movements. Suddenly Mia stopped. "Did you hear that?" Daniel listened. At first there was only silence, but then a faint whisper seemed to come from the shadows. "Beware, ... The voice seemed to say. Mia's breath caught. "We're not alone." Daniel gripped her hand tightly. "Stay close." As they reached the bottom of the stairs, the tunnel opened into a vast underground chamber. The walls glowed faintly with strange symbols that pulsed like a heartbeat. In the center stood a massive machine. Old but still humming softly. Daniel stepped closer. "This must be it, the secret." Mia touched the machine's surface. "What is it?" Before Daniel could answer, the machine suddenly activated. Lights flashed and a low growl filled the room. "We need to get out," Daniel shouted. They ran back up the stairs as the rumbling grew stronger. Behind them, the doors slammed shut, sealing the chamber. Outside, the ground shook and dust fell from the ruins. Daniel looked at Mia, breathless. "We barely escaped," Mia nodded, still trembling. The tablet's warning was real. Daniel stared at the ruins as the sun rose. "This is just the beginning. We need to find out what else the earth is hiding." And deep beneath their feet, the machine's hum grew louder, as if waiting for something. The sun hung low in the sky as Daniel and Mia reached the edge of the ruins. Tall broken pillars stood like silent guards around a crumbling city. This place had once been alive, full of people, voices, and life. Now it was only dust and shadows. Daniel looked at the cracked stone walls and whispered, "This was the home of the first civilization. The people who left the warning." Mia shivered. "Why did they disappear all of a sudden?" "I don't know," Daniel said. "But I'm going to find out." They walked slowly through the ruins, their footsteps echoing in the empty streets. Suddenly, Mia stopped and pointed. "Look at that." A strange device lay half buried near a fallen statue. It was made of metal, but unlike anything Daniel had ever seen. It had buttons, small screens, and parts that looked like they could move. Daniel picked it up carefully. "This must be their technology," he said, eyes wide. Mia frowned. "But why would they leave it here?" "It looks important." Before Daniel could answer, a loud crack came from nearby. The ground trembled under their feet. Dust fell from broken buildings, and for a moment, the ruins felt alive, angry, even. Did the earth just move? Mia asked, voice shaking. Daniel looked at the device in his hand. Suddenly, one of the buttons lit up with a soft green glow. "It's still working," Daniel whispered. "But why?" They heard a faint humming sound growing louder. The device began to vibrate, and strange symbols flashed across its screen. Mia stepped back. "Turn it off. What if it's dangerous?" Daniel tried to press the button again, but nothing happened. The humming grew louder, filling the air. Suddenly, a hidden door in the ground near them slowly slid open, revealing a dark tunnel leading deep underground. Daniel looked at Mia. "We have to see what's inside." Mia hesitated but nodded. "Okay, but be careful." They took their flashlights and stepped into the tunnel. The air was cold and damp. The walls were covered in strange carvings telling stories of the past, stories of power and destruction. "Daniel, read aloud." "They built this machine to control the earth itself, to stop the disasters, but something went wrong." Mia swallowed hard. What went wrong? A sudden noise echoed behind them. They turned, but the door was already closed. The tunnel was sealed. Daniel tried the device again. This time, a map appeared on the screen, a map of the underground city. "Look," Daniel said. "This place is bigger than we thought." They moved forward, deeper into the darkness. The tunnel opened into a large chamber. In the center stood a huge machine, humming with energy. Mia's eyes widened. "Is this the machine they built?" Daniel nodded. It looks like it. He approached the machine and touched a control panel. Suddenly, the machine's parts started to move, lights flashing wildly. Mia grabbed Daniel's arm. "Stop! We don't know what it will do." But before Daniel could react, the machine began to shake. The ground trembled again, stronger than before. A voice, distorted and mechanical, echoed through the chamber. "Warning. System failure imminent. Shutdown required." Daniel's heart pounded. "We need to shut it down before it destroys everything." Mia looked around for a way to stop the machine. There! A red button on that panel. Daniel ran to the button and pressed it. The humming slowed, then stopped. The chamber fell silent. They looked at each other, breathing heavily. "We almost didn't make it," Mia said quietly. Daniel nodded. This machine was their undoing. They tried to control the earth, but it fought back. Suddenly, the walls began to glow with a soft blue light. The carvings on the walls changed, showing images of people running, buildings falling, and the earth splitting open. Mia's voice trembled. Their final warning was real. Daniel turned off his flashlight and looked at the ceiling. "We have to tell others. This secret can't be lost again." They climbed back up the tunnel, careful not to disturb the ruins. Outside, the sun was setting, painting the sky with red and orange as they walked away. The ruins behind them seemed to whisper in the wind, "Beware what Earth contains." Daniel shivered but felt a new determination. The first civilization had fallen because they ignored the warning. Now it was their turn to listen, before it was too late. The sky was gray and heavy when Daniel and Mia arrived at the edge of a small village near the ruins. The village looked old and quiet, almost forgotten by time. Yet, the villagers whispered stories that caught Daniel's attention. Mia asked. An elderly man sitting near the fire. "Do you know anything about the underground city?" The old man looked up, his eyes sharp and serious. "Ah, yes. The buried secret. Few know of it, but it is real. Long ago, our ancestors hid deep beneath the earth to escape the destruction above." Daniel leaned forward. "Why did they hide?" The old man's voice lowered. "Because the earth was not safe. There was a great danger beneath the surface. We sealed ourselves away to survive, but some say the danger still waits." Mia felt a chill. "Can we see this place?" The man nodded. "Slowly, if you dare." He led them to a hidden entrance behind a cluster of old trees. The ground was covered with leaves, and a stone slab was almost invisible. Daniel pushed it aside, revealing a narrow tunnel that went deep underground. Mia shone her flashlight inside. "It's dark. Unquiet." Daniel took a deep breath. "We have to be careful. We don't know what's down there." They stepped into the tunnel, the air growing cooler with each step. The walls were smooth, carved from stone, but covered in strange symbols that glowed faintly in the flashlight beam. Mia whispered, "These symbols, they tell a story, I think." Daniel nodded, tracing one symbol with his finger. "It's about a community that lived underground. They built a city to hide from the danger above. But they left warnings to never disturb what lies beneath." The tunnel opened into a large cavern. The space was filled with old buildings carved from rock, streets winding through them like veins. It was a city frozen in time. Mia's eyes grew wide. How did they survive without sunlight? Daniel looked up. Maybe they found a way. "Look, there are strange lights along the walls, powered by some ancient energy." Suddenly, a soft sound echoed through the cavern. Footsteps, voices. Mia grabbed Daniel's arm. "We're not alone." They moved carefully toward the sound and found a group of people, a hidden community living in the underground city. Their faces were kind but wary. One man stepped forward. "Who are you? Why have you come here?" Daniel explained about the tablet, the warning, and their search for the truth. The community leader nodded slowly. We are the keepers of the buried secret. We protect what Earth contains. Long ago, our ancestors sealed a terrible power underground. It is not safe to disturb it, Mia asked. What kind of power? The leader's eyes darkened. A force that can destroy worlds. It sleeps beneath us, but it can wake. Daniel's heart raced. Can you show us? The leader hesitated, but agreed. He led them deeper into the city, to a sealed chamber covered in strange markings. This is the heart of the earth, he said. Inside lies the secret power. It must never be released. Daniel looked at the heavy stone door. What happens if it's opened? The leader's voice was grave. Chaos, destruction, the end of everything. Suddenly, a rumble shook. The cavern. Dust fell from the ceiling. Mia gasped. Is it waking? The leader nodded. We feel its power growing. It is restless. Daniel looked at Mia. We need to warn the world. The leader shook his head. You don't understand. The surface world is not ready. If they know, they might try to use the power, Mia said, but if it wakes, it will destroy us all. A tense silence filled the chamber, then a loud crack echoed. The stone door shook. Daniel stepped forward. We have to stop it, the leader joined him. Together. They placed their hands on the door, pressing ancient symbols carved into the stone. A bright light filled the chamber, and the rumbling stopped. The power was sealed once more. For now. As Daniel and Mia left the underground city, the leader's words stayed with them. Beware what Earth contains. Outside, the village was quiet, but Daniel knew the real battle had only just begun. The air was thick with tension as Daniel and Mia entered the dusty archive room hidden beneath the ruins. Rows of ancient machines and broken screens surrounded them, silent witnesses to a long-forgotten past. The only sound was the faint hum of a power source somewhere deep inside. Mia brushed dust off a large metal console. This must be where they controlled everything, she said, her voice low. Daniel nodded, eyes scanning the strange symbols etched into the walls. The technology they built. It's unlike anything we've seen. But it also feels dangerous. Suddenly, a soft beep echoed through the room. Lights flickered on the console as if the machines were waking up. Mia stepped back, alarmed. Did you do that? Daniel shook his head. No, something's turning on by itself. The console screen lit up, showing images of cities, people, and then sudden destruction. Fires, collapsed buildings, and frightened faces filled the display. Mia gasped. Is this what happened to them? Daniel's fingers hovered over the controls. I think so. Their own technology destroyed them. As they watched, the screen showed a machine similar to the one they had seen underground, a massive structure designed to control the Earth's energy. But the images changed, showing the machine spiraling out of control. A warning message appeared in glowing red letters. System failure. Immediate shutdown required. Mia's eyes widened. They couldn't stop it. Daniel's heart pounded. This is what caused the fall of the first civilization. Suddenly, the room shook violently. Dust rained from the ceiling. We need to get out. Mia shouted. They rushed toward the exit, but the door slammed shut behind them, locking them. Inside. Daniel pounded on the door. It's locked. The system is controlling the whole place. Mia's flashlight flickered. We're trapped. A cold wind swept through the room, and the machines around them started to hum louder. Screens flashed warnings and mechanical. Arms moved on their own. Daniel grabbed Mia's hand. Stay close. From the shadows, a voice crackled through a broken speaker. Why have you come? This place is forbidden. Mia whispered. It knows we're here. Daniel tried to speak, but the voice continued. The technology was made to protect, but it turned deadly. Only those who understand can survive. Mia looked at Daniel. How do we turn it off? Daniel studied the console. There has to be a manual shutdown. He searched the panels quickly, fingers trembling. Suddenly, he found a red button labeled Emergency Stop. He looked at Mia. This might be our only chance. Mia nodded. Do it. Daniel pressed the button. The machines groaned and stopped moving. The lights dimmed. The door clicked, unlocking slowly. They rushed out into the fresh air, gasping. Mia looked back. That was too close. Daniel wiped sweat from his forehead. The technology was their savior and their curse. We must learn from it, or we'll repeat the same mistakes. As they walked away from the ruins, the wind whispered through the trees, carrying the ancient warning, beware what earth contains. The wind howled through the empty streets as Daniel and Mia made their way back to the village. The sky was dark, heavy with clouds that threatened rain. Both felt the weight of what they had learned deep inside the ruins, a terrible secret that could not be ignored. Mia broke the silence. Do you think anyone will believe us? This technology, the power underground, it sounds like a nightmare. Daniel shook his head. It has to be told. If we stay quiet, it will be too late. For everyone. As they neared the village, they noticed something strange. The usual quiet was replaced by whispers and hurried footsteps. People gathered in small groups, faces pale and anxious. An old woman approached them, her eyes full of worry. You must listen. The earth itself is warning us, Mia frowned. What do you mean? The woman pointed toward the distant hills. Strange sounds came from the ground. The earth trembles more often. Animals run scared. We hear voices in the wind. Daniel exchanged a glance with Mia. It's the warning. It's coming again. That night, the village held a meeting. Daniel and Mia shared everything they had discovered, the fallen civilization, the deadly technology, and the buried power waiting below. A young man stood up. If this power wakes, what can we do? How can we stop it? Daniel answered, we need to understand the past, learn from it, and find a way to seal it forever. Suddenly, the ground shook violently. The villagers gasped as dust fell from the rooftops. A deep rumble echoed through the valley. Mia grabbed Daniel's arm. It's starting. Daniel looked toward the hills where the earth seemed to be alive. We have no time. The villagers rushed to the old entrance of the underground city. Together, they followed Daniel and Mia, hoping to stop the danger before it spread. As they reached the stone door, a voice echoed in the wind, clear and strong. Beware what earth contains. The villagers fell silent, fear and awe mixing in their eyes. Daniel stepped forward, touching the ancient carvings on the door. We have to close this chapter for good. With everyone watching, they worked together to activate the sealing symbols. A bright light surrounded the door, and the earth's rumbling slowly stopped. Mia breathed deeply. It's over. For now. The villagers nodded, but Daniel knew the warning would echo forever. The earth held secrets, powerful, dangerous, and not easily forgotten. As dawn broke, Daniel looked at the rising sun and whispered, we must never forget. Beware what earth contains. The air was still and heavy as Daniel stood on the edge of the deep canyon outside the village. The warnings had stopped, but the silence didn't bring peace. It felt wrong, too quiet, like the earth was holding its breath. Mia stood beside him, holding a notebook full of old symbols and notes from their recent discoveries. I've been thinking, she said. All the civilizations left the same warning. But what if they weren't warning us about the technology? What if the real threat is something else? Daniel turned toward her. Something alive? Mia nodded. Yes, we assumed it was energy or a machine. But what if it's a presence? A hidden entity buried deep beneath the surface, older than any civilization? Daniel looked back at the dark canyon. If that's true, then everything we've seen, the machines, the destruction, the fear, it all came from trying to keep it trapped. Later that day, they met with Dr. Harris again, the historian who had helped them before. He listened carefully to their theory and then opened a heavy book covered in dust. "This is one of the oldest texts we've ever recovered," he said. "It speaks of something not human. It was here before the first cities were built. The people feared it, worshipped it, and finally tried to bury it." Mia leaned over the pages. "Does it say what it is?" Dr. Harris nodded slowly. "Only this: it has no face, no voice, but it watches." Daniel frowned. "A sleeping entity, and it's waking." That night, strange lights appeared above the canyon. They floated slowly in the sky, pulsing like a heartbeat. Animals howled in the forest, and people locked their doors. Daniel and Mia returned to the canyon, guided by the lights. As they moved deeper, the ground began to vibrate, not from shaking, but from something deeper like a pulse. "It's alive," Mia whispered. They followed the pulse into an ancient cave. The walls were covered in symbols that glowed faintly, as if reacting to their presence. Daniel ran his fingers across them. "These marks, they aren't warnings, they're seals. Someone locked something in here." As they walked further, they reached a large chamber with a black stone at the center. It was smooth, cold, and humming with energy. The air around it was strange, thick, and almost hard to breathe. Mia stepped back. "I don't like this. It feels wrong." Suddenly, the stone cracked. A thin line of red light glowed from the center. Daniel stared in horror. "It's waking up." A deep voice echoed through the chamber, but it wasn't a voice made of sound. It was inside their minds. A whisper that filled every corner of thought. "You came too close." Mia covered her ears, shaking her head. "Get it out." "I can hear it in my brain." Daniel pulled her back. "We have to leave now." The ground beneath the stone began to split. Black mist poured from the cracks, forming a shape, but not one with a clear form. It was shadow smoke, something that felt alive, but should not exist. They ran, the cave shaking behind them. Stones fell, the tunnel closing as they escaped through a narrow gap. As they reached the surface, the canyon groaned. A sound like a giant breath echoed across the land. "It's not sealed anymore," Mia said, gasping. "It knows we're here." Daniel looked at the sky, where the strange lights still hovered. "And now it's watching." Back in the village, the people were already packing. The air had changed. Birds stopped singing. The earth felt sick. Dr. Harris met them near the square. It was never about technology. That was just a tool to contain it. The civilizations tried to build machines to keep it asleep. Mia asked, "What do we do now?" The old historian looked grave. "We find out how they sealed it the first time. We go back to the beginning." Daniel nodded. "Then we stop it before it spreads." As the sun rose behind the mountains, a deep, distant sound echoed once again through the canyon, a voice, soft but endless. "I have waited. Now I remember." Daniel turned to Mia. "This isn't just a warning anymore. It's a countdown." The sun was just rising as Daniel and Mia packed their bags in the small village. The air was thick with worry, and the faces around them showed the same fear they felt inside. The hidden entity was awake, and time was running out. "We don't have much time," Daniel said, tightening the straps on his backpack. "If that thing spreads beyond the canyon, no one will be safe." Mia looked at the ancient map they had found in the ruins. "The seals are scattered across different locations. We need to reach each one before the power grows." "Then we split up," Daniel said firmly. "I'll take the northern path. You head east. We meet back here in 2 days." Mia hesitated. "Are you sure? It's dangerous." Daniel smiled briefly. "It's the only way." As they parted, the village bell rang, a warning signal that the earth was restless again. Mia's journey was filled with strange sights. The forest seemed alive, whispering in voices only she could hear. Shadows moved between the trees, never quite visible but always there. Suddenly she heard a voice behind her. "You shouldn't be here." She spun around. A man stepped from the shadows. His eyes were sharp and his face was pale. "Who are you?" "I'm Mia. I'm trying to stop the entity waking beneath the earth." The man nodded slowly. "Then we share the same goal. Follow me." They moved quickly through hidden paths until they reached an ancient temple half buried in the ground. "This is one of the seal points," the man said. "If it breaks, the power will grow stronger." Mia examined the stone door covered in glowing symbols. "How do we fix it?" The man showed her a small device. "This uses energy from the earth itself. It can restore the seal, but it must be activated together." Mia pressed the device to the door. The symbols flickered, but did not light up that suddenly. A low growl echoed. From the shadows came a dark shape like smoke with eyes. Mia stepped back. "It's here." The man raised his hands. "Hold on. The device needs time." Mia clenched her fists. "Then we fight." The shadow moved closer, but just as it reached them, the device glowed bright. The shadow screamed and vanished into the ground. The door's symbols lit up, and the seal was restored. Meanwhile, Daniel faced his own dangers on the northern path. The earth cracked beneath him, and strange creatures crawled from the fissures. He reached an old ruin where a massive stone pillar stood. "This is the next seal," he muttered. A group of strangers appeared, blocking his way. "You cannot pass," their leader said. "This power is not for humans." Daniel didn't hesitate. "If you don't help, the world will end." The leader's eyes narrowed. "Then prove your worth." A test followed. Daniel had to solve an ancient puzzle carved into the pillar. Sweat dripped down his face as he worked, racing against time. Finally, the symbols shifted, and the pillar glowed with a warm light. The earth stopped trembling. Daniel breathed deeply. Seal restored. 2 days later, Daniel and Mia returned to the village, exhausted but hopeful. "We did it," Mia said softly. For now, Daniel looked toward the distant canyon. But it's only a matter of time before it tries again. The villagers gathered around as Daniel spoke. "We have learned one thing from the past. Never ignore the warnings of the earth. We must be ready." Mia added, "And remember, together we can face anything." As the sun set, a quiet voice echoed through the wind, "Beware what earth contains." Night had fallen, and a cold wind swept through the village. Daniel and Mia sat by a small fire outside the last sealed temple. Their faces were tired but determined. The seals had been restored, but a heavy feeling pressed on them like a shadow. Mia broke the silence. "Daniel, there's something I don't understand. The seals stopped the entity, yes, but why did the civilizations try to hide it instead of destroying it?" Daniel looked into the fire. "Maybe it's because they knew it couldn't be destroyed." Suddenly, Dr. Harris appeared, holding a fragile old manuscript. "I think I found the answer," he said, his voice low but urgent. Mia leaned forward. "What does it say?" Dr. Harris opened the manuscript carefully. "The entity is not just a force or a spirit. It is a part of the earth itself, a living memory of everything that happened, every pain, every war, every mistake." Daniel frowned. "A memory? You mean it remembers us?" Dr. Harris nodded. "Yes, but it remembers in anger. The damage done to the earth makes it restless. It is not evil, but it is terrified and dangerous." Mia shook her head. "So all the destruction wasn't caused by machines or war. It was the earth's reaction to what we did." Before Daniel could speak, the ground trembled again. A deep, low voice filled the air, stronger and clearer than ever before. "You seek to bind me, but you cannot hide from the truth." Mia stood up. "It's speaking to us." Daniel turned pale. "What does it want?" the voice continued. "I am the earth's pain and memory. If you want peace, you must heal the earth. If you continue to destroy, I will rise again." The villagers gathered around, fear spreading like wildfire. Daniel took a deep breath. "It's not enough to seal it. We must change how we live." Mia nodded. We must protect the Earth, or the entity will never rest. Suddenly, a bright light burst from the ground near the temple. The earth cracked open, revealing an enormous glowing tree rooted deep in the soil. Its branches stretched toward the sky, and its leaves shimmered with light. Dr. Harris whispered, "The tree of life, the heart of the Earth's memory." The entity's voice softened, almost hopeful. "This tree can heal what was broken, but it needs your care." Mia stepped closer. "Then this is our chance." Daniel placed his hand on the tree's bark. Warmth spread through him. "We have a future if we choose it." The village began to change. People planted new trees, cleaned the rivers, and rebuilt with care. The entity's warning remained clear in their minds: beware what Earth contains. But now it was also a promise of hope. As the first light of dawn touched the glowing tree, Daniel whispered, "The final words of every lost civilization weren't just warnings. They were calls to protect the world." Mia smiled. "And maybe this time we will listen."